Hello, and welcome to another episode of This, That, and the Other. Today I'm going to be talking about a football team that existed in 1975 in the World Football League, WFL, called the Chicago Winds. They succeeded the Chicago Fire, which was a team in Chicago in 1974 season. Chris Hemler took over as the commissioner and came up with the idea of a new league, and it was going to pay off the debts and everything from the previous year, which quite a lot of debts were mounted. And they were called the Winds because of Chicago being the windy city, and they also played at Soldier Field like the Chicago Fire did. The Chicago Fire had red and black, and they changed the team's uniforms, helmet, and jerseys to green, and the helmet was a white helmet with a W. They wanted it to look similar to the New York Jets helmet, and they had the whole team riding on signing Joe Namath. They offered him quite a bit of money. The owner, Eugene Polano, did, and tried to get Joe Namath to sign with them, which didn't happen. And it was pretty much spelled doom for the team and the rest of the WFL. TBS was going to televise the games, and when Joe Namath bailed out, they dropped coverage of the WFL, and that 1975 season did not have a television contract. You have a league and you don't have a television contract, you're doomed. You're depending on people to go to the games, and you don't have a number one. You don't have the number one product on the field. NFL had the better players, and WFL players, a lot of players that couldn't make it into the NFL. They had signed Babe Parilli, who had coached the New York Stars, and which became the Charlotte Stars, Charlotte Hornets. And they fired him before the season started and they brought I believe Abe Gebron was an assistant. Abe Gebron coached the team. He had been fired from the Chicago Bears the previous year. I read up on a little bit on Abe Gebron. He was a good defensive coach. He inherited a poorly run Chicago Bears team when he took over, and he lasted a couple of years, and then I believe Jack Pardee took them over, and Jack Pardee was the one that actually got the Bears finally into the playoffs in 1977, and then he left and went to the Redskins, and in 3 years he couldn't get the Redskins in the playoffs and was fired after 3 years with the Redskins. But that's another story. So basically, the Chicago Winds played their first game August 2nd, 1975 at Birmingham against the Vulcans and lost 10-0. Next game was 9th at Shreveport Steamer, lost 38-18. Then they played at home. They hosted the Portland Thunder, and they won 25-18 in overtime. Then they played at Hawaii, and they lost 28-17. And lastly, they played at the Memphis Grizzlies, and they lost 31-7. The game against the Portland Thunder, only 3,501 fans for the game, and this was paid attendance. Chris Hemler was adamant about that those figures be honest. Chicago Fire sold 15,000 season tickets in 1974. The Winds only managed to sell 16,000. And also, a couple of investors, two major investors for the had withdrawn 175,000 that they deposited with the league, and they were named as Bob and Rich from California. Didn't even know the last names. But kind of interesting. I don't know if those were investors. I think they were investors with the Winds, but that hurt them also. And the Winds were the league disbanded them. Just they were in so much financial trouble. The league just discontinued the team, and the Winds were disbanded a month before the WFL itself folded. They just were not making money, and their commissioner said that everything was done right, but the league was never designed for customer appeal to develop a market. That's what he said. And he said that if you have an item on a shelf but it doesn't have customer appeal, it's worthless. And that's kind of what the WFL teams were at that time. So that league folded, and that's basically what I was able to get up on the 1975 Chicago Winds. Only played 5 games and were out. Their quarterback was Pete Beathard from the Portland Thunder. That was who they brought in after they couldn't sign Joe Namath. They were totally the whole league was kind of riding on the Winds too on getting Joe Namath signed. It would have done a lot for the league. They felt, but at that time, really, Joe Namath was not really the quarterback like the 1969 Jets quarterback. His career was going downhill. I think 1976 he was with the Jets for one more season, then he was on the Rams for another season. They started him for a while and ended up benching him for Pat Hayden. And I remember I went to 1977, last game of the season. I saw the Redskins play the Rams at RFK Stadium, and Pat Hayden started the game, and Vince Ferragamo came in the second half, and you didn't even see Joe Namath play at all. He was I guess he was like a third string quarterback on that team. But that was the end of Joe Namath's career. And like, subscribe, and share. As always, thanks for watching.